Hello and welcome back to my channel, and this is part 2 of the series, yet another inventory series, but wait. Today we're going to be looking at adding the game items, an interact system with the player, and a screen messaging system. To help us along the way, I've imported a few assets so we can have a look here. In our game, in our message, we have a couple here that I brought in from outside. I've also added some from Epic Games themselves. I've added the survival props. If it's not compatible with your version of Unreal, just choose the closest one to it. So in this case it was 5.2. The other ones I added were, we can't spell for coffee today, food. With the food icons, there's some nice icons there, and the food pack, these two. But again, feel free to use your own meshes and icons. You will need an icon to go with your mesh, so bear that in mind when you're choosing what to have in your game. So let's get to making our first part, which is going to be the data asset. We're going to make a new folder. Okay, so we're going to go to new folder, and we're going to call this data. And in this folder, we're going to have a few more folders. We're going to have one folder called data assets. We can have a second folder I'm going to call enums and structs. I like to keep them separate, nice and easy to find them should you need them, save you searching everywhere for them. We're going to start with the enum and structs first because there's quite a lot here we're going to need when we're building up our data asset, and even some within the structure. So we're going to start with the enums first. And enum is basically a list of strings in effect that we can use. It just saves us having to retype the name. It's handy for later on. As you see, we can choose things and do different things depending on what the enum is. So I find it very useful to use. So let's make them. We have about 5 or 6 to make, so let's make the first one, and you'll find them under blueprint here, enumeration. We're going to name them and then we're going to fill them out in a minute. So the first one I'm going to call is en for enum, consumable type, and if I've spelled that wrong, never mind. We're going to duplicate it, and this one's going to be called en underscore inventory result, and I will go through what these are for as we fill them out. We can duplicate it again, and we can call this one en item group. Duplicate again, en item type. Duplicate again, en message display position. Again, I'll go through these as we come to them. There's 1, 2, the result, item group, item type, message state, 6. Oh yeah, one more. So duplicate that, and this is en underscore rich text code or command, whichever you prefer to use. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill these out. So we're going to start with a consumable one. Now with my enums, I normally like to start off with a null or blank one. So in this case, I'm just going to put NA, not applicable. Let's keep it in capitals. So that if we don't want to categorize something or put it in a group or category, we can use NA and we can ignore it when we're doing searches and other things. Makes life a little bit simpler rather than something being defaulted as a particular item. The next one, which can be food, this is consumable type, so things that we can consume. So food, drink, health. Obviously, food and drink are self-explanatory. Health will be things like first aid kits. Depending on your game, you can put what you like. You can put potions, you can put power-ups, whatever you prefer. But this is just what I'm starting with here today. Make sure you save it. You can go ahead and close that one. The next one I'm going to do is inventory result. Now, inventory result, when we come to making our inventory component, it's the result from adding, removing, or whatever action we're doing with our inventory. You'll see by the names what they are. Again, I like to start off with a null or a none. In this case, I'm going to put none. You don't have to do this. Like I say, it just makes life a little bit easier down the road. Success. And another one. Your inventory is full. And we'll be using these in messaging, so make sure you put your spaces in that, which you can do in an enum. It's treated just like a string or text. And the last one, for later in the game, and I'm going to copy and paste this one because I can never spell this word, is going to be you are encumbered. Again, when we get to that part about adding weight limits to our inventory and things like that, if you don't want to do it, you can stop there. The inventory will work just fine. I'm just trying to show people all the different possibilities of what we can and can't do in an inventory. So again, make sure you save it, close it. And next one is going to be item group. Now this one is always going to be a group. So the none or the general one on here, I'm just going to put this all. Oh, sorry. All. Put it in the description. And we have empty. Some we will be using shortly, some not. Again, numerable. I don't think I spelled that correctly. Check on my. No, I didn't. Capital C there. And we've got another one. Resources. Another one. Weapon. Another one. And you can see these are groups of how we want to categorize our items in our game. Placeable. ABLE. Another one is going to be recipe. And the last one is going to be craftable. Again, make sure you save. Go ahead and close that. Item type is our next one. Let me just check my phone. Okay, this one's quite a short one. Again, this one's 3. Put it from here. Empty. Interactable. And pick up. Pick up is self-explanatory. Interactable could be anything like a light switch, a door. Empty is just my null or non-use case. Save it, close it. Message display position. Okay, this is an odd one, you may not see it. This is something I like to do with my screen messaging. It gives me the option to be able to add messages to a particular place on the screen. And this just helps me along with the coding. It's only 3. It's quite simple. Top, middle, and bottom. Again, in your game, if you want to put a left and a right, or top left or top right, go ahead and do it. You'll see how we use them fairly shortly. So go ahead and close that. And the last one we've got, which is a little bit of an oddball one, but this is to help us again with our screen messaging. And this is called our enum rich text code. Okay, we're going to have 3 in here. And again, depending on what codes you've got, you can add more. It'll be none, this first one. The second one is going to be called less than, input, greater than. Okay, these again will come clear when I show you how we use them shortly. And the last one, less than, / greater than. These are basically commands used within rich text formatting. So save that, close that. That's all of those done. The next thing we want to set up is, just double check on my, so the next thing we want to set up is, we're going to go back into our data now, to our data assets folder, and we're going to set up our actual data asset. We're going to right click, we're going to go to blueprint class, and it's going to be called primary data asset, not the label, the primary data asset, this one here. I'm going to select that. I'm going to call it DA_DA for data asset, and I'm going to call it game item. Okay. Open this up. And it looks just like another blueprint, except it doesn't have the viewport. Now in here we can add a bunch of variables, which we will be. And you will see also why we did the enums first as well. So bear with me, there are quite a few, but most of them will be used today, some will not. So in our variables, let's add our first variable. And we're going to call it item name. And we're going to use this as type text because it will be used in UI. We're going to add another one. It's item message name. Again, as a text. And we're using this because, as you'll see, we may want the item named and the item and what we see in a message to be slightly different way of spelling, i.e. no capital letter in the middle of a sentence, which is obviously a bit annoying. if we're just talking about everyday things, we don't capitalize water and things like that when we're talking about water in a sentence. So it just makes things a little bit easier to make grammatically correct. Another one, which is also a text, description, which is the item description. Then we're going to have another one, and call this one item type. And this is, you guessed it, is of our item type enum, so en item type. To add another one, and this is called item group. Try to give your variable names that are meaningful for you and to help you along the line, because you may go back to it a bit later on and go, what the heck is this name for? So try and make them so they make some sort of sense. And the next one is going to be called, because I have trouble spelling this, I'm going to copy and paste it, consumable type. Consumable type enum. Okay. Next one is going to be called icon. And this is a texture 2D. But we're going to choose the soft object reference. This is to make the game a little bit more performant, so you're not loading in textures all the time. We'll make another one. It's going to be called the static mesh. This is obviously going to be of type static mesh, but again we're going to use the soft object reference. Okay, the next one we can't do in a moment, which we'll get back to. So, but we'll put it in as in, and then we'll change its type in a moment. It's going to be called a game base. Sorry, it's going to be called an item class. We'll change that in a moment. We'll do that as soon as we made it these variables. Next one is going to be called message text, and we're going to use this as a type string. And this one can stack. We have type boolean, so can we stack the item? Just by having it as a boolean saying something can stack, it's easier to check and to get out the code if they can't and move on to another part of the code, rather than having to say, is stack amount greater than 1? And then it makes the code a little bit more easier to use and more efficient. Next one we're going to have is max stack. And that's going to be integer because we can't have half an item. And these last two, again, probably won't get used for quite a while, but we'll put them in here, then they're ready. We're going to say item weight. We can have this as a float because we can have a fraction of a kilogram. And this one is, well, this one we can use fairly shortly, is item value. Now, what we're going to use this one for is not for using it in a store. We can also add item value for that later on. It's going to be used for like how much food value or health value or drink value an item is when we use it. So I said here the item class we don't have anything for. So let's go ahead and make that first. So we need to go to our blueprints folder. And we're going to add another folder here and we're going to call it parent blueprints. And in here, we're going to right click, go to new blueprint class of type actor, and we're just going to call this game based actor. Excuse me. Okay, just going to save it. We're not going to do anything with it right now. Later on, we will be putting in some interfaces in it, which we haven't made at the moment, but for now, that's all we need to do. We save it. We can go back to our item here, and this item class here, we can look for game based actor, and again, we're going to use a soft object reference. And just sorry, I tell you a lie. We're going to use a soft class reference. We want the actor class. So the light pink one. That's all we need to do inside of here right now. If you like, you can go ahead and add some default values, but I think really. So we can go ahead and close that. The next thing we're going to make now is we're going to go back to our enums folder. To our enums and structures folder. Inside our data folder. And we're going to make a new item or a new blueprint structure. Go to blueprint, structure, or struct. Just going to call this item struct. Basically what a structure is a group of variables that we can access. So it saves having to have about 20 variables, you can put it all in the one structure. It's nice and easy to use. So we're going to head and open that up. First one we're going to do, it's easy to give us this one here. We're going to call this the data asset. And we're going to make this a DA game item. That's going to be an object reference. That's the data asset we just made. We're going to add two more variables. First one is going to be quantity, QTY for short. Then we can't have half an item, so that's going to be an integer. And we're going to add one more, and this is going to be index. This is going to be the index within the inventory that it's being stored. So we're going to have to keep updating this. I find it's just a nice easy way of when you want to remove things, it makes it easy than having to try and find it, get the index. It's already there inside your data asset or your structure. So just make sure you save it, and we can go ahead and close that. I do apologize, this is a lot of catching up work to do, but we can soon get on with the nitty-gritty very shortly. Now, in our blueprints folder, we're going to make another new folder, and we're going to call this interfaces. An interface is a good way of communicating between different blueprint types, and we will be using quite a few of them. So first of all, we're going to make the blank ones, and then we're going to fill them out. So again, so we're going to go to blueprint interface, BPI for blueprint interface, and this one is going to be called game instance interface. Again, name it whatever suits you. We can go ahead and, because they're empty, we can go ahead and duplicate it, and this one is going to be called BPI HUD interface. And then we're going to have one more. We're going to go ahead and duplicate it. And this one's going to be called BPI interact. Make sure we save those, excuse me. So we save those. And while we're here, and while we've got this in our minds, we're going to go back to our current blueprints, our game-based actor, and we're going to add one of these blueprint interfaces. To add an interface, you must go to your class settings, and you'll see down here, implemented interfaces. We have nothing in our list. We're going to add one. We're going to add our interact. So start type, here it is, BPI interact. Compile. Now it doesn't show up here because there's nothing in it. So I'm really smart enough to know that if there's nothing in it, what's the point of showing anything in the list? But we're going to change that now. So we're going to open up our interface, our interact. First one we're going to do something with, and we're going to add a function. We can't put any code in these functions. These are literally functions that we can call. If we do not put any outputs on the function, they will appear as events in your event graph. If we put an output, then they look just like a normal function. So let's have, we only have two here. So first one is I'm going to call do something. Basically, if we interact with something, we want to do something. And I believe it's no outputs on that one. And we're going to add one more. And again, no outputs. And this is going to be display message. Display. I'm trouble with my keyboard this evening. Okay, get it right. Again, on this one, we do want an input. So we're going to add an input down here. We're going to name this screen position. And we made an enum message display position. We're going to use our enum for that. Make sure you compile this. For some bizarre reason, we sometimes have to do it twice. And we can go ahead and close the interact. If we go back to our game-based actor now, because we added that here, we have these two now under interfaces that we can do things with. One thing I'd like to also show you on this game-based actor, because it's going to be a parent class, we don't really want to be dragging it into the world, altering it inside the world, having many copies of it. We purely want it to be the parent class. So we can stop that happening by, we can go in here, I believe it's under advanced, and we're going to generate an abstract class. And I can show you that before I tick it. I can show you that I can drag this in and you can see it there. No problem. So if I check generate abstract class, compile it, try and drag the same thing in, nothing. We can't drag it in. We can only drag children of this class, of this actor into our world. Okay, so let's start making some child actors. Now the game-based actor is basically going to be fairly empty. It's going to be a container, and we can make different parents from this. We can make a parent, we can make a child that is also a parent for other actors. So we're going to right-click this, create a child blueprint class, and we're going to call this BP game item parent. And make sure we call it parent. And then we can, again, let's open this up, go to our class settings, make it an abstract class. We don't want to change this. But in here, we do want to add a little bit of code. Okay. So go to report, double check what I've got on here. Okay. Now I don't like these default theme routes that come with Unreal. So what I normally do is add a theme, drag that to become well, at the moment I think I have to do that in I may have to do that in the parent itself. So hang on, let me rewind on that one. I have to do that in here. So to add a theme. And now we can put it onto there. We should get rid of that horrible thing, and also in here we get rid of the horrible thing there. So in our, a little bit lost there for a second, in our game item now, our game item parent, we are going to add a static mesh. And we can call this item mesh. Okay. We're also going to add a variable. And this variable is going to be called item data. And it's going to be our item struct that we made before. We're also going to click the eyeball to make it instant editable, and we're going to expose this on form. It means that we can actually add data. We're going to leave this blank for now, and you'll see why in a moment. So let's go ahead to our event graph. Now, because we're using soft references, they have to be loaded in, and we have to reference them. So we're going to make up a custom event, and we're going to call this as get mesh. Nice and easy. We're going to get our game, our item data, drag out of here, and we're going to break the item struct. And then from here, we're going to say load oh, sorry. We want our static mesh. That static mesh. I'm going to say load. We're going to use the asset blocking. I tried using the async one, which would be more efficient. For some reason, it doesn't work when we try to put it in here. So you could do it if we did it a different way. Now from here, because we know it's a static mesh, we want to cast to a static mesh. which actually casts to the component of a static mesh. We can drag in our item mesh. We're going to say set mesh, set static mesh, and we're going to join them up here. In our construction script, we're purely going to run that set mesh. And you'll see that working later on. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your friends. If you feel like it, you can support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Everything is appreciated. But most importantly, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much and goodbye.